Mountains and waterfalls are symbols of the Earth's grandeur. We often see them on postcards and in travel videos, but behind this captivating beauty lies a force that shows no mercy. Mountains rise like silent guardians of the planet, shining in the sun and roaring in the depths of canyons. But take a step closer, and every second becomes a challenge. In the mountains, there is no familiar sense of safety. Everything here follows its own rules. The rocks seem to breathe. Sometimes they lie still in silence, and then suddenly they tumble down, sweeping everything in their path. No one can predict when this fragile balance will be disrupted. Even the slightest movement can awaken an entire slope. For an unprepared traveler, this is not just a walk, but a confrontation with the harsh forces of nature, where a mistake is measured not by a bruise, but by life itself. Waterfalls are even more deceptive. Their flow looks clear and calm, but inside, chaos is raging. Water drops hundreds of meters, turning into white foam, dancing with the sun to create rainbows. But beneath the sparkling streams lies an endless abyss. Just a moment of lost balance, and the current will pull you down, leaving no time to scream or any chance to escape. It's this contrast that makes them so captivating. The beauty is hypnotic, while a hidden danger lurks behind that hypnosis. Imagine this. You're walking along a narrow mountain path. The stones crumble beneath your feet, and a thick fog hangs low above you. The wind steals your breath, and the cold seeps through your clothes. It feels like the mountain is silent, but that silence is louder than any sound. It carries a warning. An avalanche can start without a single crack, and a rock can tumble down with just a gentle nudge from your boot. Here, a person is just a visitor, and the mountain decides whether to let you go further. The higher you climb, the clearer it becomes. No achievements of civilization really matter. No technology can tame the mountains. Human cities can rise and fall, bridges can collapse, and planes can soar in the sky. But in these mountains, everyone is equal, the strong and the weak, the experienced and the novice. Nature makes no distinctions. It only accepts those who respect its power. And now, listen to the sound of the water. It seems gentle, but if you close your eyes, that hum turns into a warning. The waterfall sounds like an endless drum, and behind it lies not music, but a power that can crush everything. Dive under this flow, and every drop becomes a strike. Many try to get closer to feel the energy of the water, but only a few understand how dangerous this game really is. Experienced travelers say that water never forgives mistakes. While mountains may give you a chance to turn back, rivers and waterfalls take without return. A gaze fixed on the sparkling flow can be deceiving. Beauty makes you forget caution. And it is in this moment that nature reveals its true power. But it is this attraction that makes mountains and waterfalls places of power. Every peak is a challenge. Every drop of falling water is a test. People go to where they can lose everything, just to see what is unforgettable. They know that where the land meets the sky, and the river rushes down with fierce intensity, a person momentarily becomes part of something greater. These places seem to test us. They ask, "Are you worthy of seeing the true beauty of the earth? Are you ready to risk everything for a moment of wonder? Are you willing to admit that you are not the master of this world, but just a temporary guest?" The only way to answer these questions is to take a step forward. We often think of nature as something that exists to please our eyes. But mountains and waterfalls remind us that they were here millions of years before us and will be here millions of years after. Their power is undeniable. Their beauty is just a mask for their strength. All we can do is admire them and accept the rules of the game. In this film, we will embark on a journey along the edge of beauty and danger. We will witness mountains that crumble and come to life, waterfalls that hide a chasm beneath their sparkling streams, and canyons where humans confront nature face to face. We will showcase the places where beauty stops being just a picture and becomes a true challenge. Get ready. These 3 hours won't just be a story about nature. This will be a tale of a force that can bring joy or take everything away. There's no room for chance here. Every movement, every breath, and every glance is a step along the edge. Only those who dare to look the elements in the eye will discover what it means to encounter the true beauty of the earth. Silence. The peak stands still, snow sparkling in the sunlight, and it feels like the world has frozen. But that's an illusion. In the mountains, there is no absolute stillness. Every breath of wind, every step a person takes, every barely noticeable vibration could be the last drop that makes the mountain release its built-up weight. An avalanche doesn't give a warning. It waits. Snow builds up for weeks and months. It layers itself like the pages of an ancient book, and if just one of those pages shifts, everything turns into a deadly rush. You won't hear a scream. Just a roar, like the rumble of 1,000 drums. The speed of an avalanche can reach 100 kilometers per hour. It's not a soft white cloud like in pictures. It's a wall carrying rocks, tree debris, and ice chunks. It doesn't go around obstacles, it sweeps them away. A human body is just a speck, a tiny detail in the overall chaos. Those who have been caught in its grip and survived by some miracle all say the same thing. You lose not just the ground beneath your feet, you lose time itself. There's no chance of escape here. Even the most experienced climbers admit an avalanche is always faster. You might see it from afar, you might hear its roar, but you can't stop it. It decides who survives and who stays buried under the snow forever. There's a myth that you can outsmart an avalanche by shouting, whistling, or even freezing in place, hoping the mountain won't notice you. But the truth is harsher. It doesn't care about your shout. It follows its own rules. Wind, temperature changes, vibrations, and everything comes crashing down. Sometimes, all it takes is for a person to take just one step to the side. Other times, not even that is necessary. Local people know that avalanches are not accidents. They are a part of mountain life. In the legends of the Caucasus, they were called white dragons. In the Alps, people said, the mountain takes revenge for disturbance. Among the Himalayan tribes, an avalanche was seen as the breath of an ancient spirit that demands offerings. Otherwise, it would wipe people off the face of the earth. And in every myth, there is the same lesson. Nature warns us, but we rarely listen. Imagine this. You're standing on a slope. The snow sparkles, the air is cold and fresh, and the silence is complete. But suddenly, the ground beneath you starts to shake. At first, there's a soft crack, like the sound of breaking glass. Then, the crack turns into a rumble, and the whole mountain seems to come alive. In just a moment, everything around you transforms into a roaring waterfall of snow. You take a breath, and you're not sure if you'll get another one. In an avalanche, everything gets lost. Your sense of direction, your feeling of time, your understanding of space. Up and down switch places. The snow twists your body like a toy. The ice presses on your chest, and the air disappears. Your only chance is to reach your hand up, hoping that rescuers will see it. But most of the time, an avalanche leaves behind only a mark on the slope and silence. Scientists have tried to tame this force. In dangerous areas, they use explosions to trigger controlled snowslides. Sometimes it works, but the mountain remains indifferent to human efforts. It only allows us to temporarily push disaster away. The power of an avalanche cannot be conquered. It can only be respected. And yet, people keep going back to where these silent killers reign. Why? Because it is only near them that you realize life is worth a moment. It is only in the presence of danger that you feel the power of the earth itself. An avalanche is frightening, but it is also awe-inspiring. The white torrent, rushing at the speed of the wind, brings out a sense of our own fragility while also igniting a desire to resist. History is filled with tragedies. In Norway, avalanches have swept away entire villages. In the Alps, they have buried groups of soldiers as war gives way to nature's fury. In the Himalayas, dozens of climbers lose their lives every year while trying to reach the peaks. Each time, nature reminds us that while humans can be determined, they will never be the masters of the mountains. An avalanche is the voice of the mountains. Loud, relentless, eternal. It does not get angry. It does not punish on purpose. It does not choose its victims. It simply exists, like the breath of the planet. And as long as people keep climbing higher than the clouds, this voice will echo again and again, reminding us that the power of the earth is always greater than our ambitions. Mountains seem eternal. Their peaks pierce the sky, and their walls feel carved from eternity. But that's just an illusion. Mountains are alive. They breathe, crack, and shift. And when they choose to remind us of their power, we witness a disaster. The collapse starts with something small. A stone rolling down the slope seems insignificant. One hit and silence returns. But that silence is the calm before the storm. Behind that stone, an avalanche of boulders can come, turning the slope into a torrent of death. And then, nothing remains. No paths, no homes, no hope. The speed of a rockfall is terrifying. Tons of stone come crashing down, destroying everything in their path. Roads, bridges, entire villages vanish as if they never existed. To the mountain, there is no difference between a person, a tree, or a house. Everything turns to dust. In moments like these, one might wonder, is it even possible to live near the mountains when the very ground can collapse on your head? In legends, the mountains are called sleeping giants. When they wake up, the earth trembles. There is cracking, rumbling, and echoes that fade into the valleys, creating a feeling that the whole world is treacherously slipping away beneath your feet. Ancient peoples believed that a landslide was a sign of the spirit's anger, and to this day, locals say, the mountain always takes revenge for the disturbance. The most treacherous thing is surprise. Mountains don't give you a heads up. A crack can hide for centuries. Just a bit of rain, an earthquake, or frost that pushes a rock from within, and suddenly a whole slope turns into a deadly flow. No one knows which rock will be the last one. Maybe it's the one right at your feet. Imagine this, you're walking down a narrow path. The wind carries dry dust, and the sun warms the rocks. Everything seems calm. But suddenly, you hear a dry thud. One, then another. In that moment, the peak comes to life. You look up and realize the heavens are falling right on you. What will you do? Run? Freeze? Or accept that there's no choice left? A landslide can't be stopped. There's no force strong enough to hold back millions of tons of rock. All a person can do is try to run. But time is always against us. The stones roll down so fast that every second counts. And most of the time, a person just can't keep up. Can you outrun the mountain itself? History holds countless tragedies. In the Alps, avalanches swallowed entire villages, leaving nothing but ruins. In the Himalayas, climbers' camps vanished in an instant. In Peru, on the peak of Huascaran, in 1970, a landslide buried the town of Yungay. 20,000 lives were lost in just a few minutes. One moment, and a whole city was erased from the map. Scientists have calculated that every year, thousands of landslides happen around the world. Some are quiet and almost unnoticed. Others are as powerful as earthquakes. With just one strike, a mountain changes its shape. The Earth reminds us that eternity does not exist. Everything falls apart, even what seems everlasting. But a landslide is not just a disaster. It's a part of mountain life. Rocks tumble into valleys, rivers carry away debris, and new shapes are born from it. This is how the planet builds itself. But for humans, this philosophy offers little comfort. For them, every rock that falls is a threat. And every moment spent near the mountains is a challenge. People have tried to fight against nature. They set up nets, reinforced slopes, and dug tunnels. Sometimes it works. But when an entire mountain collapses, no technology can withstand it. In those moments, everything human seems like a toy. Can concrete really conquer millions of tons of granite? And yet, people keep going back to the mountains. To build roads, to blaze trails, to conquer peaks. We know that the mountains can destroy us at any moment. But it's that very threat that makes them even more majestic. Danger is part of their beauty. We are drawn to it, like moths to a flame. A mountain is not just a postcard view. It's a warning. Each slope holds the power of destruction. Every crack could signal the beginning of the end. We tend to think that what rises above us is eternal. But here, eternity is an illusion. Even the rocks crumble. If eternity can fall apart, what is left for us as humans? Mountains have always crumbled. They will continue to do so. Each collapse is the voice of the planet. A voice that cannot be silenced by screams, technology, or prayers. It roars in the rocks and echoes in the hearts of those who have ever heard the earth itself fall apart. A waterfall is a symbol of purity and freedom. The streams of water sparkle in the sun, breaking into billions of droplets that create rainbows. At first glance, the beauty seems flawless, almost heavenly. But all of this is just a mask. Behind the shine lies one of nature's most treacherous forces. Every waterfall is a trap. Water cascading down from tens or hundreds of meters gathers immense energy. Below, where the white foam churns and sparkles in the sunlight, whirlpools and eddies lie in wait, ready to pull even the strongest person under. There's no fighting this force. Get too close, and you'll be swallowed by nature. What's scarier, hearing its call or feeling it drag you into the abyss? The power of the waterfall is deceiving. It sings, captivates, and draws you in as if promising a miracle. The sounds of the falling water lull you like ancient music. But at that moment, the water is ready to take a life. One mistake, and there will be no second chance. The waterfall does not forgive. There are places where the waterfall drops from such a height that it feels like the river is born right out of the clouds. But the higher the fall, the more terrifying the impact. Hundreds of tons of water crash down every second. The rocks below turn into grinding stones. Everything that gets caught in this grinder disappears. Even metal can't withstand it. So, what can we say about the human body? The illusion of calm is the waterfall's biggest trick. From above, it looks like a thin silver ribbon. But as soon as you step to the edge, your body crumples like a fragile toy. Even the most experienced climbers and kayakers know one wrong move, and the current will take you to a place with no way out. Waterfalls have always fascinated and frightened people. In legends, they were called gateways to another world. The sound of the water reminded them of the voices of spirits, while the splashes felt like the breath of gods. In Scandinavia, people believed that trolls hid behind the curtain of water. In Asia, it was thought that deities lived in the streams. For Native Americans, waterfalls were sacred. Getting too close was seen as a challenge to the spirits themselves. But what force drove a person to go back there time and time again? Was it the desire to stare death in the face? Or perhaps a hidden thirst to experience that moment when beauty and danger become one? Imagine this, you're standing on the edge. The rock is slippery from the moisture, and the air is filled with icy droplets. The sound of the water is so powerful that you can't hear your own breath. Your heart is racing, but it gets lost in the roar. One step forward, and the ground disappears. Just the fall. Just the abyss. Can you tear your gaze away from the abyss, knowing that one move could pull you into eternity? Waterfalls kill silently. Many believe that drowning happens quickly. But the truth is harsh. The current knocks you down, slams you against the rocks, and pulls the air from your lungs. You lose your sense of direction, unable to tell which way is up or down. Your body twists, breaks, and gets crushed. Even if someone is nearby, they won't be able to help. And yet, waterfalls are a magnet. Photographers wait for hours to capture the perfect shot. Travelers seek new experiences, and thrill seekers jump from their peaks into the abyss. Everyone understands the risk, but no one walks away. Because it is here that nature reveals its true face. It is beautiful and deadly at the same time. History holds some chilling examples. In North America, dozens of fame seekers tried to cross Niagara Falls in barrels. Some drowned right away, while others were found dead days later. In South America, the Iguazu Falls swallowed entire boats, and no one who fell down ever came back. In Africa, Victoria Falls tossed bodies into its frothy jaws, leaving only echoes and mist behind. Can we tame a force that can shatter rocks in just 1 second? Even modern technology is powerless. Nets, dams, pumps, all of this fades in comparison to the eternal force of falling water. People build barriers, but the river always finds a way. People create steps, but the waterfall still crashes down. The power of waterfalls isn't just in their beauty. Their strength lies in revealing the true nature of water. It's not gentle or kind. It can be a weapon. It has the ability to shatter rocks, erode shores, and destroy cities. And the more stunning the waterfall, the more terrifying its depths. What's stronger, the desire to get closer or the fear of getting lost forever? But still, people come back to them. Because only here can you feel the breath of the earth. Only here can you sense that beauty and death can exist in the same moment. And it's this pull that makes waterfalls places where you want to stand at the edge. A waterfall is a challenge. It's a challenge for those who want to experience beauty up close, beyond what feels safe. But nature always reminds us, stepping beyond the edge of beauty is a step into the abyss. And anyone who dares to take that step is forever tied to the water. Mountains are dangerous, not just because of landslides and avalanches. Their real threat lies in the fact that the enemy can be invisible. You don't see it, you don't hear it, you don't feel it until it's too late. But it's there, slowly breaking down your body and mind. This enemy takes on two forms: fog and altitude sickness. Fog is the first trick of the mountains. It comes down unexpectedly. Just a minute ago, you could see the peak and every rock, and now the whole world disappears behind a white curtain. Mountain paths vanish, cliffs lose their shapes, and direction fades away. A person walks blindly, and each step could lead to a drop. How do you make a choice when you can't see where the road leads? But fog doesn't just take away your sight. It weighs on your mind. At first, there's a slight feeling of anxiety, then doubt creeps in with every move you make. The silence becomes deafening, and you start to hear your own heartbeat, thinking someone is nearby. Panic hits you out of nowhere. Even seasoned travelers feel their minds start to wobble in these conditions. Fog is tricky because it steals your sense of time. Minutes stretch into hours, and hours turn into forever. In this state, it's easy to lose your way and become just another statistic. Mountain rescuers say, fog isn't just a haze, it's a trap. But even scarier is the invisible enemy, altitude sickness. In places where the air is thin, your body starts to fight against itself. Every breath feels like a struggle. Your heart races as if it wants to break free. Your head pounds, and your legs feel heavier than lead. Your body sends a message, you don't belong here. Altitude sickness develops quickly. Its danger lies in the fact that the first symptoms seem harmless. Fatigue, a slight headache, who pays attention to that? But just a few more steps, and your body stops obeying. Some collapse from exhaustion, while others lose their minds. There have been stories of people starting to see hallucinations and walking right into the void. What's scarier, the abyss beneath your feet or the abyss within your mind? At high altitudes, oxygen deprivation breaks a person down from the inside. The blood thickens, breathing becomes erratic, and the brain feels like it is drowning. Sometimes, pulmonary edema develops. Each breath brings in less air, and a person struggles to breathe, even though the sky is clear. At times, cerebral edema sets in, consciousness blurs, and thoughts scatter. One step, and you are no longer in control. Mountains do not forgive weakness. And the scariest part is that no one knows in advance who will fall ill. One climber might reach over 8,000 meters and come back alive, while another runs out of strength at just 4,000. There is no fairness here, no predictability. There is only the cold logic of altitude. If you are weak, you do not belong. In the myths of various cultures, mist and illness were linked to the forces of another world. In the Caucasus, people believed that the white veil was the breath of spirits hiding forbidden peaks from humans. In the Alps, they said that if someone starts to choke in the mountains, it means their soul is already being taken away. In the Himalayas, they believed that the gods test the proud. Are you worthy of rising above the clouds? Imagine this, you're climbing higher and higher. The sun is bright, the sky is clear, but your breath becomes sharp and uneven. Suddenly, a thick fog rolls in around you. The rocks beneath your feet are cold and slippery. You can't see the path. The world fades away. All you hear is the rush of blood in your ears and the endless mist surrounding you. At this moment, a mistake could cost you your life. Fog and altitude sickness are allies. One hides the path, the other drains your strength. Together, they turn the climb into a battle against unseen foes. Maps won't help you here, and gadgets won't save you. It's not the bravest who wins, but the one who knows when to back down. Can you let go of the summit when it's just a step away? But it's this very danger that makes the mountain so alluring. People venture where the enemy is unseen, where death arrives quietly, like a dream. Victory in such conditions feels particularly intense. Every breath taken at high altitude seems snatched from the very edge of the abyss. The history of mountaineering is filled with tragedies. On Everest, dozens of bodies still lie along the route. They cannot be brought down. Some died from pulmonary edema, others from loss of consciousness. They are called silent markers because every climber passes by and realizes the summit does not forgive mistakes. And yet, people keep coming back. Why? Because here, a person tests their limits. Here, life is felt on the edge. The mountain takes away your strength, your mind, and your breath, but it also gives you the feeling of absolute victory if you manage to endure. The dangerous beauty of the mountains is that it attacks not just the body, but also the mind. It takes away your sight, your breath, and your clarity of thought. It turns the strong into the weak and forces the brave to acknowledge their own fragility. But it is this feeling that makes the climbs unforgettable. Where the enemy is unseen, victory feels eternal. Ice seems reliable. The white surface beneath your feet creates an illusion of strength. You walk and think, this is solid, this is a fortress. But it is in this confidence that the real danger lies. Ice deceitfully hides emptiness beneath it. Cracks are the silent traps of the mountains. They're invisible from the surface. Snow covers them, turning the glacier into a smooth white field. But take a step, and the ground beneath you disappears. In an instant, solid ground turns into a bottomless pit, with no support and no escape. What's more frightening? An enemy you can see, or one that hides right beneath your feet? The depth of these cracks is terrifying. Dozens of meters down, and darkness. The ice closes in, the cold suffocates, and the sound of your own scream gets lost in the echoing void. Many remain forever trapped in the icy walls, becoming part of the vast, frozen entity known as a glacier. For rescuers, these are the most hopeless cases. The crack has swallowed someone, and there's no way to bring them back. The scariest thing is silence. There are no warnings, no cracks. Everything seems safe right up until the last step. That's why climbers move in teams, tied together with ropes. If one falls, the other will try to catch them. But if the crevice is too deep or the rope can't hold, both will perish. Ice does not forgive carelessness. It can be treacherous, even when it looks clear. Water seeps through, creating new voids. The frost expands them, while the sun erodes the edges. Ice lives and changes every minute. What was solid in the morning can turn into a deadly trap by evening. How can you trust the ground beneath your feet when it changes every second? Imagine this. You are walking on a glacier. The whiteness dazzles your eyes, and the air is cold and crisp. With every step, there's a hidden risk. The ice can support hundreds of kilograms, but it might crack with just one light movement. And if that happens, you won't have time to even take a breath. Climbers call these falls the scariest. In an avalanche, there's at least a sound or a moment to realize what's happening. But in a crevasse, there's just sudden emptiness. You fall down, your body presses against the icy walls, the light disappears, and all that's left is the thought. The end came too quickly. In the legends of northern peoples, glaciers were seen as gateways to the spirit world. It was said that those who fell into a crevice would enter the underground realm of cold. This is not just a myth, but a warning passed down through generations. Respect the ice, or it will take you away. In Iceland, the elders used to say that glaciers hold the souls of the lost. And every time a crack appears, it calls out for another victim. In the Himalayas, people believed that falling into a glacier is a punishment for pride. Everywhere, there is the same lesson: those who walk without caution do not return. Modern travelers visit glaciers for their beauty. They take pictures of the blue arches shining in the sun and the crystal caves. But for those who have seen the ice from the inside, these scenes will never be the same again. They understand that a glacier is not a temple of beauty, but a predator that knows how to wait. Hundreds of tragedies are linked to crevasses. In the Alps, entire groups of beginners have perished while climbing without ropes. In the Andes, expeditions lost their best guides because one misstep turned out to be fatal. On Everest, the crevasses in the Khumbu icefall have become one of the deadliest parts of the route. Even the most experienced climbers have lost their lives there. Can a person defeat an enemy they can't even see? Scientists have been trying to predict how glaciers behave. Lasers, drones, and satellites all help create a map. But a crack can appear overnight, and by morning it's ready for its next victim. Ice is always moving, flowing, and breaking apart. And that's its biggest mystery. It's always changing and always hiding new dangers. Climbers say, a crevasse is the most honest enemy. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't threaten, and it doesn't give any signals. It just waits for your step. But this honesty is cruel. Because a mistake here is always the last one. Ice is a challenge. A challenge for your sight, your hearing, and your mind. It makes you believe in strength, and then shatters that belief in an instant. It tests how much you can trust your team and how ready you are to take risks. That's why people keep walking on glaciers time and time again. The dangerous beauty of ice is that it draws you in. The white expanse looks perfect, shining, eternal. But beneath this beauty lie chasms that can take you away forever. The wind in the mountains is not just air moving around. Here, it becomes a living force, the breath of the planet that can lift you up, warm you, or even destroy. While the plains feel just a gentle breeze, the peaks face hurricanes that can tear the sky in two. The wind is the most unpredictable enemy. It has no shape, and you can't see it coming. It arrives suddenly. Just a minute ago, everything was quiet, and then the slopes are filled with a howl, like the roar of wild beasts. The path beneath your feet becomes unsteady, and your breath quickens. It feels like the mountain is swaying along with you. How do you fight an enemy that has no body? At the mountain passes, the wind can reach the speed of a car. 100 kilometers per hour, and a person becomes a toy. A sudden gust can sweep you off the slope, throw you into the abyss, and carry you to a place of no return. Even heavy gear doesn't always help. Here, it's all about chance. Will you stay upright, or will you fly down? But the scariest thing is the invisible wind. Air currents hide behind the rocks, creating traps. You walk calmly, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a gust hits you with such force that your legs buckle. In these areas, even the most experienced climbers cling to the rocks for dear life. On Everest, gusts have been recorded at up to 200 kilometers per hour. That's hurricane strength, capable of tearing down tents, ripping clothes apart, and throwing a person into the void. In such conditions, you can't take a single step. This raises the question, what is stronger, the peak or the breath of the wind? In legends, mountain winds were seen as the voices of spirits. In Asian cultures, they were called dragons breathing on the world. In Europe, they were viewed as a curse, a punishment for those who dared disturb the peace of the peaks. Among Native Americans, it was believed that if the wind sings at the pass, the mountain is calling for another sacrifice. In every culture, one truth echoes. The wind decides who is worthy and who is not. Imagine this. You're standing on a narrow path. On one side, there's a cliff, and on the other, an endless abyss. Suddenly, a gust of wind hits you. It's so strong that you can't even hear your own scream. All your energy goes not into moving forward, but into holding on and not falling. Every second is a fight for survival. Experienced guides know that the wind can change its character in seconds. In the morning, it is gentle. By noon, it becomes sharp, and by evening, it can be deadly. Sometimes, just a single cloud is enough to shift the pressure, and the gusts hit from a different direction. You walk along the trail, unsure if you can handle the next blast. Can a person stand strong where even the rocks are worn away by the breath of the wind? The wind in the mountains is not just a physical threat, but a psychological one too. Its howl can drive you mad. It takes away your sense of direction, makes it hard to think, and robs you of sleep. People sit for hours in their tents, listening to the gusts battering the fabric, feeling the walls shake. At night, it seems like the storm is trying to rip off the roof and carry you away with it. History knows countless tragedies. In the Andes, winds have swept camps right off the slopes. In the Himalayas, storms have turned expeditions back just steps from the summit. In the Alps, sudden gusts have sent climbers tumbling into the abyss. Even modern technology can't save us. Communication towers bend, metal structures break. No boundaries. In the mountains, there are special winds called foehn winds. They are warm but dangerous, as they can suddenly change the climate and trigger avalanches. There are also katabatic winds that rush down glaciers at hurricane speeds. And then there are tornadoes that form right among the rocks. Each of these can become the last enemy of a traveler. But that's exactly what draws people in. They go to places where the air can be deadly. They want to test themselves, to face the elements, and prove they can endure. The wind is frightening, but it also makes victory so much sweeter. Every step at the summit is not just a battle against rock and snow, but also against the air that seems harmless down below. The wind is a force of nature that can't be defeated. You can't stop it with walls, and you can't tame it with technology. It will always be here. Today, it brings a cool breeze, and tomorrow, it turns into a hurricane. Its power lies in its complete unpredictability. Can a person get used to the idea that even the air here is deadly? Those who have felt the breath of the mountain wind will never forget that feeling. You realize that all your will and courage mean nothing. There is only you and the elements, which with a single motion can wipe you off the face of the earth. The dangerous beauty of the mountains is that even the air here can be deadly. That's why every step on the trail is a challenge, and every breath is a gift that could be the last. The most dangerous thing in the mountains is not the storm, not the avalanche, and not the landslide. The scariest thing is the silence. It's deceptive. It's alluring. It seems peaceful, but it hides betrayal. The mountains know how to play a role. They can look calm, almost gentle. The sun is warm, the path is smooth, and the streams are singing. And it's at this very moment that danger is at its strongest. Can you really trust a world that is too quiet? Mountains know how to pretend. They hide their wounds beneath the snow, their cracks under the moss, and their traps under the water. You walk and think, nothing will happen here. But the reality in the mountains is always twofold. Where there is beauty, there is also danger. A stone shining in the sun could be the one that falls in the next moment. The illusion of calm is nature's oldest trick. The sky is clear, the air is fresh, but just one gust of wind can bring the fog rolling in within minutes. The slope seems solid, but inside it's hollow. The rock you lean on could crumble with the slightest shift. A person searches for signs, but there are none here. The mountains smile, and it's at this moment that they prepare to strike. In legends, mountains are compared to women who hide a storm behind their smiles. The water below sings a song, promising coolness and rest, but deep down, there's a whirlpool ready to swallow you. The snowy field looks white and pure, but inside it, an avalanche is sleeping. Everything around seems peaceful, and that's why so many lose their lives here. What's more frightening, the thunderous roar or the silence that hides death? Imagine this. You are walking through a valley. The sun shines on the rocks, birds circle in the sky, and streams sparkle in the grass. Then suddenly there's a rumble. Silence vanishes, and the slope starts to crumble right before your eyes. Just a minute ago, this place felt like paradise, and now it has turned into a nightmare. This is how the mountains reveal their true nature. Suddenly, without warning, and with no room for mistakes. The danger of mountains is that they don't give any signs. People are used to looking for clues, but there are none here. Mountains don't shout. They deceive with silence. And the quieter it gets, the closer the disaster is. Silence here is not a gift, but a test. It's a way to see if you are ready for a sudden blow. In the mountains, there is a certain logic. Everything that seems calm is only temporary. Scientists call this state false stability. Snow can sit for centuries, rocks can remain silent for decades, and ice can stay still for thousands of years. But just the slightest push is enough to shatter that illusion. Nature holds back its power to reveal it at the most unexpected moment. How long can the silence before the storm last? And are you ready to face its end? In the myths of the Caucasian people, silence was seen as a sign of trouble. When the mountain is quiet, it is listening, the elders would say. In the Alps, they believed that the quieter the peak, the angrier its wrath. In the Himalayas, it was thought that the mountain spirits decide in silence who can go further and who will be left behind forever. And yet, people keep going to the mountains again and again. Why? Because in this illusion of peace, you feel the sharpest edge. You walk amidst beauty, but your heart knows that everything is fragile. and this awareness makes every step special. Mountains teach us, don't trust your eyes. Where everything seems calm, there hides a power that can destroy in an instant. Stone, ice, water, everything can become a weapon. The illusion of peace is not a gift, but a test. Only those who can look deeper than the surface can pass it. Psychologists call this state betrayed trust. A person relaxes, and that's when they make a fatal mistake. In the mountains, the cost of a mistake is life. That's why rescuers always say, fear the silence more than the storm. What's stronger, the storm you can see, or the calm where death hides? The dangerous beauty of the mountains lies in this: they deceive. They make you fall in love with them, and then test that love through challenges. Only those who understand the value of this silence can truly say they have heard the voice of the mountains. Stone seems eternal, while water is soft and yielding. But it is water that makes mountains mortal. Where these elements meet, a force is born that creates wonders and simultaneously destroys everything in its path. What is stronger, hardness or patience? Water wears away stone. Drop by drop, century by century, it turns solid rock into caves, gorges, and chasms. A waterfall that amazes us with its beauty today will, tomorrow, take away part of the cliff, change its course, and create a new precipice. Mountains don't crumble on their own, they are slowly eroded by water. But in this killing, there is beauty. Every gorge, every canyon is a wound made by water. Great rivers have carved entire mountain ranges, leaving scars where millions of people live today. The Colorado River shaped the Grand Canyon, the Yangtze cut through gorges, and the Amazon washes away the banks. Water builds and destroys at the same time. The danger is that the process never stops. While you admire the view, the mountains keep cracking, and the river carries away bits of rock. You think you are standing on solid ground, but underneath, the work is happening. Water is slowly eroding, preparing for a new fall. Can we trust the ground beneath our feet if it quietly dies every single day? Imagine this. You are standing by a waterfall. In front of you is a roaring stream, and behind you are calm mountains. But it is this stream that carves the stone you are standing on. In just 100 years, this rock will be gone. Water always wins. In the legends of various cultures, water in the mountains was seen not just as a source of life, but also as a form of punishment. It could bring bountiful harvests, but in an instant, it could sweep away homes and villages. Mountain rivers would suddenly turn into monstrous torrents, carrying everything in their path. And everyone who lived near the mountains knew this. There is no friendship with water, only a fragile agreement. In Nepal, people believed that waterfalls are the tears of gods crying over human pride. In Europe, it was said that mountain rivers carry the souls of the lost. In Siberia, they thought that if the water starts to roar louder than usual, trouble is on the way. Everywhere, water in the mountains was connected to fate and death. The danger is that water hides behind its beauty. Shiny streams, clear lakes, sparkling waterfalls. But when it overflows its banks, all that beauty turns into a weapon. Let's remember the tragedies. In the mountains of Tajikistan, rivers can turn into deadly mudflows in just a few hours. In the Alps, melting ice has broken dams, wiping out entire villages. Water is just waiting for its moment. The union of water and stone is a bond of creation and destruction. It has given us the most majestic landscapes on our planet. But it also reminds us that everything that seems eternal will one day fade away. Mountains age. Rocks crumble. Water tells its story, and that story always ends with the triumph of water. What's scarier, a sudden avalanche strike or a 1,000-year-old murder that can't be stopped? Scientists call this geological time. For a person, life lasts for decades, but for water, it lasts millions of years. In this perspective, any mountain is just a temporary feature. Even the Himalayas, the tallest in the world, will one day be washed away by flowing waters. Take a look at the canyons. Their walls tell a story of destruction. Each layer is a mark left by the water's impact. The rock thinks it's stronger, but the river laughs at its pride. It flows its own way, and nothing can stop it. For a person, this is not just a lesson from nature, but a deadly threat. Mountain rivers can be treacherous. Today they are calm, tomorrow they are wild. Their power lies in their speed. The current rushes by at the speed of a car, carrying stones, logs, and chunks of ice. A person caught in such a flow stands no chance. Can a hand stop a river? Can a body fight against thousands of tons of water? Water breaks things down from the inside, too. It seeps into cracks, freezes, and expands them. Ice tears apart rocks, then melts and carries the fragments away. This is how even the strongest cliffs slowly crumble. Stone cannot withstand its eternal enemy. Today, travelers admire the lakes and waterfalls. They only see the beauty, but rarely think about how each drop is part of a grand process of erosion. What we call a wonder is just a wound inflicted by water on the mountains. The union of water and stone has given us everything: canyons, gorges, and waterfalls. But this union is never equal. Stone resists while water erodes. And water always wins. If water can wear down mountains, what can it do to a person? Mountains seem eternal. But water shows us that nothing lasts forever. Everything crumbles, everything fades away. A stone falls, a mountain disappears, and the river keeps flowing. This is the eternal law. And in this law, humans have no privileges. We are just guests, easily swept away by the current, just like a grain of sand. Mountains and waterfalls have always meant more to us than just a pretty view. We don't see them as just parts of nature. We see them as powerful forces that deserve our respect. That's why legends came before maps. Every peak had a name. In ancient Greece, mountains were seen as the homes of the gods. Olympus was Zeus's throne, and no one dared to climb too high, fearing to provoke his wrath. In Asia, people spoke of dragons sleeping in the rocks, whose breath turned into winds and storms. For the Slavs, mountains were gateways to other worlds, a place where spirits lived, guarding secrets. Can we really call a stone dead when it gives rise to so many fears and beliefs? The waterfalls were even more frightening. Their roar sounded like voices, and their mist felt like the breath of unseen beings. In South America, people believed that beneath the waterfalls lived deities who demanded sacrifices. In Europe, it was thought that behind every falling stream was an entrance to the underworld. In Scandinavia, they said that trolls hid beneath the currents. In Africa, it was believed that if the water fell too loudly, the gods were asking for offerings. Fear and reverence walked hand in hand. People knew that the mountain could provide water, but it could also take lives. The waterfall could nourish the fields, yet it could also destroy a settlement. That is why they built temples around them, offered gifts, and performed rituals. It was their way of saying, "We acknowledge your power." Imagine a village at the foot of a mountain. At night, the rocks crack, and it feels like a giant is stirring in its sleep. People step out of their homes, bringing food and wine to the stone to appease it. They knew that if the mountain decided to wake up, no walls would save them. The waterfalls inspired a unique sense of awe. In India, sacred texts say, "Whoever jumps into the stream will meet the gods." In Latin America, shamans claim that the sound of water is the conversation of spirits, and anyone who listens to it for too long loses their mind. Can one argue with a force that shatters rocks and breaks the earth? The illusion of control never existed. People understood that they were weaker. That's why legends aren't just stories, they're a way to survive. They taught respect. They taught to be cautious where pride could lead to downfall. In the mountains, it's all too easy to lose your sense of balance. Legends kept us from recklessness. Dangerous beauty always gives rise to myths. Mountains and waterfalls are too grand to be just nature. We made them the heroes of our stories. We turned them into gods and monsters to explain what cannot be explained otherwise. and that fear was a saving grace. In Tibet, it was believed that every mountain peak has its own guardian. You can only climb to the top with the spirit's permission. In Japan, waterfalls were seen as places of purification. People would stand under the flow, believing that the water washed away their sins. Among the Slavs, there was a belief that if you throw a coin into a mountain stream, the water spirit will protect your family. Why do we create gods in places that scare us? Maybe it's because that's the only way we can acknowledge our own weakness? Even today, when maps are accurate and satellites can see every peak, legends still exist. Because no science can take away the feeling you get when you stand before a chasm. No satellite can erase the thrill in your chest when you hear the roar of a waterfall. People still feel it. There is a power here that we cannot control. Fear and reverence remain. And perhaps it is these that make us human. Because where we see only stone and water, the heart still hears the breath of the mountains. Water is life. It creates forests, nourishes fields, and fills rivers and lakes. It quenches thirst, provides coolness in the heat, and connects villages and countries. But in the mountains, this same force can turn deadly in minutes. Where a harmless stream flows in the morning, a raging torrent can sweep away bridges, homes, and people by evening. How can we believe in salvation when life itself becomes death? Mountain water shows no mercy. Just a heavy rain in the highlands, and within a few hours, the valleys are filled with a raging wall of water. It carries boulders the size of houses, uproots trees, and crushes everything in its path. A person caught in this chaos loses any chance of survival. Even just 1 meter of water is a force comparable to a truck speeding at full throttle. The danger is that it all starts quietly. Light raindrops, a distant rumble. You think it's just the sound of the wind, but if you listen closely, you hear a roar. A surge is coming. It's moving faster than your thoughts of escape. By the time you realize it, it's already too late. In the legends of mountain peoples, such streams were called the revenge of the spirits. People believed that if you disturbed the sacred springs, the water would overflow its banks. In Asia, they spoke of demons hiding in lakes, unleashing their fury on entire villages. In the Andes, it was thought that mountain rivers were snakes that would one day raise their heads and devour everything around them. Imagine a village at the foot of the mountains. During the day, children run along the shore, and women wash clothes in the river. But at night, high in the mountains, it rains. No one hears it. Suddenly, the river comes to life. The silence disappears. In an instant, a wall of water crashes down on the village. The torrent bursts into homes, sweeping away fire, animals, and even the ground itself. People don't even have time to scream. This is a disaster with no protection. Mountain floods are terrifying because they happen so suddenly. There's no time to react. Even modern cities with dams and levees know that nature always finds a weak spot. Water erodes concrete, washes away soil, and exerts immense pressure. And once it breaks free, there's no stopping it. Can you defeat an enemy that hides deep within the earth? We tend to think of water as gentle, but in the mountains, it turns into something fierce. It breaks rocks, carries boulders, and turns them into projectiles. What was a green valley yesterday becomes a field of ruins today. Water doesn't just flow, it attacks. It turns the river into an army, charging forward. Scientists have observed that in just one night, a river can shift its course by dozens of meters. Where there was a bank yesterday, today there's a deep pool. Where a house stood, tomorrow there will be emptiness. The deepest canyons on Earth are evidence of this power. The Colorado carved out the Grand Canyon, the Yangtze cut giant gates through the rocks, and the rivers of the Himalayas tear apart stone chains. What's scarier, an avalanche that strikes in an instant, or water that wears down a rock for thousands of years and still wins? Water breaks things down from the inside, too. It seeps into cracks, freezes, and expands them. Ice tears apart rocks, then melts and carries the fragments away. This is how even the strongest mountains slowly fade away. People only see the end result, but the process happens every minute. The illusion of calmness is water's biggest trick. In the morning, a clear stream looks like a toy, and during the day, it sparkles in the sunlight. But after a heavy rain, that stream turns into a torrent that can break bridges. Even the most experienced guides say, beware of quiet water more than loud water. In the myths of South America, it was warned, whoever crosses the stream in its hour of anger will vanish forever. In Europe, people believed that rivers take the souls of those who do not respect their power. Among the Slavs, it was said that at night, it is better not to approach the water, as spirits will pull you into the depths. Everywhere there is one lesson: do not trust the water. Why do we keep building homes by rivers? Why do we go to waterfalls, knowing their power? The answer is simple: water is alluring. It gives life, but we often forget that it can take it away too. People are drawn to its beauty. However, anyone who has seen a mountain stream in full force will never look at a river the same way again. History holds some terrifying examples. In 1985, a volcanic eruption in Colombia melted a glacier. A lahar, a mix of water, ash, and rock, swept away the town of Armero. In just a few hours, 23,000 people lost their lives. In Tajikistan, mud flows destroyed dozens of villages in a single summer. In the Alps, floods repeatedly damaged railways and bridges. Today, tourists come to the waterfalls for photos. But for the locals, each stream is a memory. They remember how the river changed before their eyes, how the water took away their crops, and how homes vanished overnight. For them, beauty is always tinged with fear. Water in the mountains is both life and death at the same time. It brings forth fields and takes them away. It creates lakes and erodes the shores. It builds and destroys. That's why its beauty is always deceptive. Can you love something that could kill you at any moment? Mountains and water are allies. The stone shapes the riverbed, and the water carves it. Together they create wonders, but they also bring disasters. Humans are just witnesses here. And if they forget that, the water will remind them. Mountains are a stage where forces that seem incompatible collide. Cold ice and blazing fire. Frozen eternal peaks and volcanoes with lava bubbling like the planet's blood. When they meet, the Earth reveals its most terrifying and majestic displays. Which is stronger, the chill or the flame? And what happens to a person who witnesses their clash? Ice is a keeper. For centuries, it has covered rocks, trapped entire rivers and lakes, and preserved the planet's history like frozen pages. Beneath the glaciers, thousands of tons of water lie in wait, ready to awaken in just one night. Scientists discover dust from distant eruptions and even traces of ancient civilizations in the ice layers. Ice is Earth's archive, but it also holds a threat. Fire is a destroyer. Volcanoes remind us that the Earth is alive. Their eruptions are the breath of the core. Lava bursts forth, wiping out everything in its path: forests, bridges, homes, entire cities. Where life thrived yesterday, a black desert lies this morning. A volcano is the living heart of our planet, capable of falling silent for centuries, only to awaken in a minute. But the scariest thing happens when ice and fire meet. Lava crashing into a glacier creates streams of steam and water. Millions of tons of ice explode, turning into a disaster. These collisions sweep away valleys, cause sudden floods, and create new rivers and lakes that didn't exist just yesterday. Which force should we believe in? The cold, paralyzing one, or the searing, consuming one? Imagine a night in the mountains. In the distance, you can hear a rumble. A volcano is waking up. Rivers of red lava flow down and suddenly meet ice. In that moment, darkness is split by light, steam fills the sky, and the rumble turns into a howl. A person nearby feels like a grain of sand between two giants. There's no way to run. All that's left is to watch as the Earth changes its face. In the legends of ancient peoples, volcanoes were seen as gateways to the underworld, while glaciers were considered guardians of the heavens. Their clash was called the War of the Gods. In Iceland, people believed that when fire and ice meet, it is the battle between the fire giant Surtur and the ice giant Jotun. Among the Slavs, it was said that when fire encounters ice, a force is born that carries away souls. Science confirms the myths. In Iceland, there have been several disasters when lava melted glaciers. These events are called Jökulhlaup, glacial bursts. In just one night, water erupts and sweeps everything away in its path. In the 20th century, such disasters destroyed roads and bridges, taking homes and lives with them. No one could stop this fury. The danger is that everything changes in an instant. Ice stands still for centuries, but one night can shatter it. Fire sleeps for ages, but one tremor can bring the whole valley to life. No one can predict when they will meet again. In South America, eruptions beneath the glaciers of the Andes have repeatedly caused mud and water flows that destroyed villages. On the Kamchatka Peninsula, lava flows have collided with ice fields, and each time it ended in disaster. In the Himalayas, hot springs break through the eternal snows, creating lakes that later burst forth in torrents. Can a person stand strong where the planet itself experiments with death? And yet, in this battle, beauty is born. New lakes, new valleys, new mountain shapes. Where ice meets fire, landscapes emerge that are unlike anything else. Icy arches frame black rocks, and a pair of cracks creates images, as if the earth itself is breathing. People have always sensed a hidden meaning in this. For some, the clash of elements was punishment, while for others, it was purification. In Iceland, they said that after the battle of ice and fire, the land becomes fertile. In Japan, they believe that if water is born from lava, it is a sign of renewal. Everywhere there is one truth: death and life walk hand in hand. Scientists explain that it is in these merges that new soil is born. Lava turns into rock, rock crumbles with water, and after many years, forests appear in this place. But before the greenery comes, disaster reigns here. What's scarier, destruction that brings death, or the beauty that comes after it? Mountains are the planet's mirror. In them, we see not just cold peaks and streams of lava, but also the eternal struggle of the elements. Ice holds time, while fire destroys in an instant. And here, humans remain mere witnesses, allowed only to observe. Ice against fire is a reminder: the earth is alive. It breathes and changes right beneath our feet. In this eternal battle, we are just visitors, and our role is to remember that the beauty of the mountains is always tinged with fear. Mountains amaze us not just with their peaks, but also with their depths. While their height inspires awe, the abyss beneath our feet can paralyze us with fear. Canyons and chasms are the planet's wounds. vertical traps that are terrifying to look into, yet impossible to look away from. What is stronger, the urge to turn back or the force that compels us to look down? The abyss does not forgive mistakes. Just one wrong step and the ground disappears. Where a path seemed to be yesterday, there is now an emptiness that drops hundreds of meters down. Even the air rushing off the canyon walls seems to pull you in. It feels like the abyss itself is calling you, nudging you toward a fateful step. The scariest thing is silence. You stand at the edge and hear only the wind. No echoes, no sounds. The depth is so immense that it swallows all the noises of the world. In this moment, many feel their knees shake and their minds protest. It's impossible to be this close to the edge and survive. Canyons are the result of water and time. Rivers have carved corridors in the rock for thousands of years, turning mountains into mazes. Every line on their walls tells a story of erosion. The Grand Canyon in North America was formed by the Colorado River, which has been shaping the stone for millions of years. The beauty of canyons is not a gift. It is the result of a slow process of wearing down the cliffs. What's scarier? An avalanche that wipes everything away in a minute, or a chasm formed over thousands of years, ready to take a life in silence? The danger of cliffs lies in the illusion of stability. The rocks at the edge seem solid, but they are worn away by wind and rain. One step and a fragment gives way, taking you down with it. Even experienced guides know that lingering at the edge is tempting fate. There are places where the cliffs are especially treacherous. In Tiger Leaping Gorge in China, the trail runs above the rushing Yangtze River, and every year, people lose their lives there. In the Andes, a falling rock can take several seconds to vanish into the mist. The depths of the Caucasus hide darkness that you can't even peek into during the day. Every step there reminds you that the true master is not a person, but the abyss itself. In legends, canyons were called the gates to the underworld. The Celts believed that anyone who looked down for too long would be drawn into the darkness. Native Americans thought that spirits lived in the depths, feeding on fear. Slavs said that a chasm is the mouth of the earth, and if it opens, it means the time for a sacrifice has come. Imagine you are walking on a path. On your left, there is a sheer wall, and on your right, an endless void. Every movement becomes deliberate. Even your breath feels unnecessary. The line between life and death is thinner than a hair. And it is this awareness that makes your heart race. Why do we walk to the edge, knowing that the abyss is always stronger? Stories of falls into canyons are frightening in their simplicity. A person slips, takes a step too close to the edge, and disappears. In Yosemite, tourists repeatedly approach the cliffs for a photo. But But sometimes that photo becomes the last one. In the Andes, caravans of animals have fallen along with their guides when the trail gave way. The abyss makes no distinctions. It takes both people and animals. And yet, people keep coming back to test themselves, to look into the abyss and come back again. Because it's in that moment at the edge that we remember. We are alive. The hustle fades away, leaving only our breath and the realization that every step could be our last. Scientists say that the fear of heights is innate. It is built into us as a memory of generations who knew that a fall is always nearby. This fear kept our ancestors safe from danger, but it also draws us to the edge. Our hearts stop, yet our eyes search for the depth. What's stronger in us? The instinct to survive or the desire to gaze into eternity? Some canyons have become symbols of eternity. Yosemite in America, the gorges of Iceland, the ravines of the Caucasus. Their walls hold the history of our planet. The layers of rock are pages in a book written by water and time. Each layer is a memory of a disaster, a landslide, an avalanche. The earth has left traces of its pain in these walls. Canyons and chasms are the eyes of the earth. They gaze at us from the depths of millennia. And anyone who meets this gaze understands. We are just guests in a world where eternity is measured not by peaks, but by abysses. Mountains are not just rocks and snow. They are stone giants that look down on us like fleeting shadows. They change not only the landscape, but also the people themselves. The peaks affect our minds as much as our bodies. What's stronger, the cold heights or the thoughts they inspire in us? Height breaks and strengthens. With every step up, the air gets colder, breaths become shorter, and the heart beats faster. And yet, a person keeps going. Why? Because peaks draw us in. They promise something more than just a view from the top. They promise revelation. Many cultures have seen mountains as sacred. In Tibet, the peaks are considered the homes of gods. In the Andes, people believe that mountains are guardian spirits. In the Caucasus, they say that rising above the clouds brings you closer to the heavens. In Japan, Mount Fuji symbolizes the path to immortality. In the Caucasus, Mount Elbrus is thought to be a gateway for souls to reach the gods. These beliefs come not from imagination, but from a deep feeling. Because at the summit, the world truly feels different. Mountains have an impact on the mind. The silence up there weighs heavier than any noise. You hear your own thoughts more clearly than ever before, and they start to change. Little worries fade away, leaving only a sense of grandeur and fragility at the same time. Imagine this. You're standing at the top. Below you, clouds. Behind you, mist. In front of you, a horizon that stretches into eternity. And suddenly, you realize, a person is small, yet they made it here. This paradox challenges your mind. The peaks give you a sense of both insignificance and strength at the same time. Why do we keep going back to places that could kill us? That's why climbers keep going back to the mountains despite the risks. They are not just chasing adrenaline. They are seeking a connection with themselves. Because only next to these stone giants do we find the truth. We are part of the world, but not its masters. Danger and revelation go hand in hand. The summit can kill with cold, height, and wind. But it can also offer a moment of clarity that changes your life. This balance makes the mountains a magnet for those willing to take the risk. The stories of climbers are full of mysteries. Some say they have heard voices and seen people that weren't really there at high altitudes. Others claim that in the death zone above 8,000 meters, the mountain itself speaks to them. Science explains this as hypoxia, lack of oxygen. But those who have experienced it believe that the peaks open a door to a different perception. What is it? Hallucinations or the secret language of the mountains? In Tibet, no one dared to conquer the sacred Mount Kailash. It was believed that stepping on its slopes meant challenging the gods. On Olympus, the ancient Greeks imagined Zeus's throne, and mortals did not dare to come close. In Armenia, Mount Ararat became a symbol of salvation and remembrance. Each peak has its own myth, and every myth tells the same story. A mountain stands taller than a person, not just in body, but in spirit. Tops of mountains give a unique sense of time. Everything slows down there. One step can feel like forever. Minutes turn into hours. This feeling makes you think, maybe this is where the line is drawn between our world and something greater. Imagine a night in the mountains. The stars are closer than ever. The silence is so deep that you can hear your heartbeat. In this moment, everyone realizes that all the civilization below is just lights flickering far away. Here, it's a real world. A world where humans are guests, and the true owners are the stone giants. Can a person be free only when they are on the edge of their life? Peaks have always tested our pride. Many have perished without reaching their goal because they forgot a simple rule. The mountain doesn't have to let you through. Every step is not a conquest, but a request. Every ascent is a deal with nature that can be broken at any moment. And yet, it is this very risk that makes the peaks sacred. They reveal an inner truth. A person at the summit sees not just the landscape, but also themselves. For some, this revelation brings joy, while for others, it brings fear. But no one remains indifferent. Scientists confirm that being in the mountains changes our mindset. Even without extreme heights, our brains respond to the open space and vastness. People start to think more broadly, feeling both their smallness and a connection to something greater. It's no wonder that artists, poets, and visionaries have sought inspiration in the mountains. Mountains are mirrors of the soul. You look at them and see what you've hidden inside. As you climb, you realize who you truly are. That's why people have worshipped peaks like gods. Because only gods can change the heart like that. What's scarier, seeing your weakness or realizing you're stronger than you thought? Climbers call this experience the baptism of height. Many people change their lives after conquering peaks. Some leave the cities, others start writing books, and some find their faith. The summit breaks the old self and gives birth to the new. The dangerous beauty of the mountains always carries a lesson. It shows us that everything we pride ourselves on down below loses its meaning up here. There are no rich or poor, no strong or weak. There is only you and the breath of the planet. Peaks are temples without walls. Their halls are clouds, their columns are rocks, and their domes are the sky. And a person standing there can't help but feel that they have arrived at a place where the voice of eternity can be heard. In the mountains, there are trails that don't lead to beauty. They become a challenge themselves. Narrow paths carved into the rocks, bridges hanging over the abyss, wooden planks on sheer cliffs. These routes are not for the faint-hearted. Here, every step is a deal with fate. What's scarier, looking down or not looking at all? A narrow path is a line between life and death. On one side, there's a stone wall, and on the other, an endless abyss. It's less than a meter wide, sometimes just the width of a hand. The wind whistles in your ears, the stone is cold and damp, and the ground trembles beneath your feet. Every breath feels like the last. You can't move quickly here. Each action becomes a ritual, a step, a grip on the stone, a breath, another step. Some of these routes were established centuries ago. Monks, traders, and shepherds created them to connect villages and holy sites. They knew it was dangerous to travel here, but there was no other way. And everyone who walked these paths understood they were putting their lives in the hands of the mountains. Today, these roads have become pilgrimage sites for those seeking thrills and a test for those who want to face their fears. The most famous one is the Chinese path on Mount Huashan. Wooden planks nailed to a sheer cliff. Steel chains for your hands. Below your feet are clouds that seem closer than the ground. Every step is a leap into the void. Tourists come for the thrill, but the locals say it's not just entertainment, it's a test. The mountain doesn't welcome everyone. In Spain, there is a trail called Caminito del Rey. It's known as the King's Path, but in reality, it's a road of death. Old boards are held up by rusty beams, and below your feet is a drop of hundreds of meters. For a long time, the route was closed after tragic accidents, but people still found their way there. Because the very idea of a path hanging over the abyss was more tempting than any warning. In Nepal, narrow bridges connect villages across deep chasms. They are made of ropes and planks, swaying in the wind. You walk across, knowing that hundreds of meters lie beneath you, while the bridge creaks and shakes. Even animals struggle to cross, and people grip the ropes tightly as they make their way. What's scarier, taking a step forward or turning around and admitting defeat? The danger of such paths is in your mind. Your legs still keep their balance. Your hands grip the rock. But your mind whispers, "You will fall." Panic becomes your biggest enemy. One wrong move, and the abyss will take you. That's why even the most experienced climbers go slowly, almost in silence, as if they are talking to the trail. Imagine this. You're walking on a bridge stretched between two cliffs. The boards creak and the wind sways the ropes. Below, a river roars, hundreds of meters down. You look ahead and realize there's no turning back, and moving forward feels scary. But the path calls you. Step by step, fear turns into your only reality. In legends, it was said that such paths are guarded by mountain spirits. Only those with a pure heart can walk them. The rest are taken by the abyss right away. In the Caucasus, they told stories that if you walk on a bridge and hear the whisper of the wind, those are the voices of ancestors warning you of danger. In Asia, they believe that falling from such a road is not an accident, but a sentence. Some roads were used as a test. Warriors or monks had to walk over the abyss to prove their courage. It was believed that anyone who dared to look down and did not fall was ready to face the enemy. Even today, people come here not just for the view, but also for their own inner challenge. The thin path is a test of courage. But more importantly, it's a reminder. A reminder that we are always walking on the edge. We rarely notice it in our daily lives, but in the mountains, that edge becomes clear and tangible. Every step there tells you your life depends on your choices, your awareness, and your breath. Why do we go to places where every second could be our last? The answer is simple. That's where life feels the most vibrant. Down below, everything is predictable. Here, every moment is a challenge. Fear and excitement blend into one feeling. Your heart races as if it's the first time. And when someone walks the path above the abyss, they come back changed. Stone roads hanging in the clouds are not just paths. They are a symbol. A symbol of how life always balances between the abyss and hope. And maybe that is why they are so alluring. Because in these places, a person realizes that they truly live only when they walk on the edge. In the mountains, a storm is not just bad weather. It's a moment when the very sky crashes down on the peaks. Lightning slices through the clouds, the wind tears trees from the ground, and water pours down with such force that the mountains become a battleground for the elements. Beauty fades away, giving way to chaos, and a person realizes they are not facing rain, but the wrath of the heavens. Can you hide from the sky when it's collapsing right on top of you? A storm in the mountains always comes out of nowhere. Just a moment ago, the sky was clear, and now it's covered by a black wall. The air feels heavy, like lead. The birds go silent. Your heart tells you that something bigger than rain is on its way. There's no time to prepare. There's nowhere to run. Every step you take leads you into the unknown. Lightning strikes first. It doesn't just light up the peaks, it hits the rock, shattering cliffs like fragile glass. The sound of the impact resonates in your chest like the thunder of war drums. In the mountains, lightning doesn't play from a distance, it hunts. In the Andes, there are places where lightning strikes dozens of times an hour. In the Caucasus, climbers have seen entire rock ledges burst into flames. Lightning in the mountains isn't a sign, it's a sentence. Then the rain comes. But it's not just drops. It's walls of water falling from the sky, turning paths into rivers and canyons into waterfalls. Each drop hitting the stone sounds like a hammer strike. A person caught in the middle realizes, here, water can kill just as easily as fire. Mountain streams swell and become torrents, carrying rocks and mud. In an instant, the road disappears beneath the murky water. And all of this is accompanied by the wind. It howls as if the mountain itself has come to life and is screaming in pain. It knocks you down, sweeps away tents, and tears at your clothes. Even the strongest trees bend to the ground, as if bowing to the fury of the sky. The wind in the mountains is an enemy you can't see, but you can feel it in every cell of your body. It comes in bursts, pushes you from behind, hits your chest, and takes your breath away. Imagine this, you're at a mountain pass. The trail leads into the fog, but the path disappears under rushing water. Suddenly, the sky splits open with a flash. Everything around you freezes for a moment, and then a thunderous roar crashes down, shaking the ground. It feels like the very planet is trembling. The stones beneath your feet slip, and water pours from every cliff. You realize here the master is not a person, but the storm. What's scarier, to step into the abyss or to stand still under a collapsing sky? In legends, storms were seen as a punishment for boldness. For the Greeks, thunder was ruled by Zeus, for the Scandinavians it was Thor, and for the Slavs it was Perun. Everyone believed that lightning was the weapon of the gods, and if it struck the peak, it meant a person had crossed the line. In the Andes, shamans would say that if a storm caught you in the mountains, you should bow down and wait for the spirits to decide your fate. But myths only reflect reality. A storm in the mountains truly becomes a trial. A person cannot find shelter. Down below, you might find a roof or a cave, but up high, there is no protection. The stone giants are exposed to all the winds, and anyone who finds themselves at the top faces the elements head-on. Storms bring consequences. In the Alps, avalanches follow the storms. In the Himalayas, storms have destroyed expedition camps, taking hundreds of lives. In the Andes, storms have turned valleys into swamps, sweeping away bridges and villages. Just one night of nature's fury can change an entire landscape. The danger is that the storm arrives quickly and leaves just as fast, leaving destruction in its wake. Where there were green hills yesterday, you can see landslides, uprooted trees, and rivers of mud this morning. Nature shows us that mountains are not just pictures for tourists. They are a living force that does not tolerate weakness. Can we call a place home if one sky can destroy everything you've built? And yet storms are tempting. Many climbers say that only in a storm do you truly feel the power of the mountains. Silence can be deceiving. Beauty can lull you to sleep. But a thunderstorm reveals the truth. Lightning lights up the peak in a way that makes your heart stop. The wind forces you to fight for every step. Rain washes away all thoughts. And then there's only one thing left, the desire to survive. Today, science can predict the weather, but it can't stop a storm. Satellites track the clouds, but no one knows where lightning will strike. People have invented lightning rods, but they are useless in the mountains. Even modern technology can't conquer the fury of the sky. Storms in the mountains are the voice of the planet. A voice that cannot be silenced. It reminds us that humans will always be smaller than the sky. Anyone who has weathered a storm at the peak knows that you can never be the same afterward. Your view of the world changes. You start to realize that life is just a moment between the thunderclaps. During the day, the mountains intimidate with their height, avalanches, and storms. But at night, they transform into a completely different world. When the light fades, everything around changes. The rocks, trails, and waterfalls stay in place, but they no longer belong to us. The night makes the mountains feel foreign. What is more frightening, to see the abyss, or to know it is hidden in the darkness. The darkness in the mountains is complete. There are no lights, no roads, just the faint glow of the moon hiding behind the clouds. Our eyes lose their bearings, and every step becomes a step into the unknown. Even the most familiar paths turn into a maze, where every shadow could be a bottomless pit. And the scariest part is the sounds. During the day, the wind and water seem like music. But at night, they turn into voices. The wind howls like a living creature. The water crashes as if someone is walking behind you. Every stone that falls from the slope sounds like a warning of trouble. Your mind starts to look for threats where there might be none, and every echo becomes the footsteps of an invisible enemy. At night, the mountains seem to come alive. Legends say that it is in the darkness that the spirits of the peaks awaken. In Asia, people believe that the mountains whisper secrets to those brave enough to stay overnight. In Europe, it was thought that the darkness opens the gates to the world of the dead. In the Caucasus, they said that at night, the mountains judge people. Those who are worthy will live to see the dawn. And when you stand in complete darkness on a mountain pass, you start to believe in any myth. The danger of the night lies in illusions. A rock looks like a figure, a tree turns into a silhouette, and a star becomes the flame of a campfire. The mind plays tricks on the imagination. One wrong step, and the path disappears. The abyss feels closer than ever. Many tragedies have happened at night, when a person mistook the moonlight for a road or followed a light that turned out to be just a reflection. What's more reliable, the light of a lantern or our own feelings, which can deceive us? Imagine this. You're in a tent in the middle of a mountain valley. The wind is tearing at the fabric, and you can hear the roar of the river outside. You turn on your flashlight, and all you see is a tiny circle of light surrounded by darkness. Beyond that circle could be anything: a crack, a wild animal, a deep drop. You realize the night in the mountains has its own rules. It's at night that the quietest tragedies happen. Tourists who lose their way. Climbers swept away by the wind in the dark. Hunters who step into a chasm they didn't see. At night, you don't need an avalanche. The darkness itself becomes a weapon. In the mountains, night brings the cold. The temperature drops quickly, breath turns to steam, and fingers lose their feeling. A person can freeze faster than they realize the danger. Many expeditions have perished not from avalanches or storms, but from the nighttime frost that froze their breath and movement. But in this darkness, there is also greatness. The sky filled with millions of stars, the Milky Way stretching across the heavens, the northern lights dancing above the glaciers, the lights of distant villages below. All of this makes the night enchanting. It is both frightening and beautiful at the same time. Why do we reach for the stars, even when there's a chasm beneath our feet? Many cultures have connected the night mountains with mysticism. In the Andes, people believed that the stars are the eyes of spirits watching over the peaks from the sky. In Tibet, it was thought that if you spend a night on a sacred mountain, you can hear the voice of the gods. In Siberia, shamans would go into the mountains at night to meet the spirits in the darkness. Nighttime in the mountains is a test of courage. Here, a person faces not just nature, but also their own fears. In the darkness, questions arise. Who am I? What am I doing here? And will I make it to dawn? That's why a night at the summit is remembered more vividly than any sunrise. When the sun rises, it feels like the night was a nightmare. Shadows fade away, paths come back, and the world belongs to us again. But the memory of darkness lingers. And anyone who has spent a night in the mountains knows, in the dark, the mountains do not belong to us. Mountains are not just stone, ice, and water. They are also a realm of creatures that live by their own rules. Here, humans are guests, and the animals remind us of this at every turn. Sometimes, an encounter with them feels like a miracle, but more often, it becomes a challenge. What is scarier, the abyss beneath your feet or the eyes of a predator shining in the dark? The main danger of mountain animals is their unpredictability. They show up when you least expect it. In thick fog, in a canyon where echoes hide your footsteps, or right on a narrow path with no way to turn back. In those moments, every second counts. A mistake can cost you your life. Bears. The kings of the forests and foothills. During the day, they seem sleepy and clumsy, but in an instant, they turn into a storm of power. Their strike is like the fall of a boulder, and their speed can scare even the fastest runner. On the trail by the waterfalls, encountering a bear is like a lottery, and humans rarely win. In the legends of the Caucasus, it is said that the bear protects the mountains from the bold. If he comes your way, it means you have gone too far. Snow leopards. They are called ghosts of the mountains. They are almost impossible to spot. Their spotted fur blends in with the rocks. But if you see a leopard, know this: it has been watching you for a long time. It doesn't always attack. Sometimes it walks alongside you, checking what you will do. In the eyes of the leopard, you can see indifference, but it is the indifference of a predator that needs just one leap to end your story. Wolves. Their packs roam where humans rarely go. During the day they hide, but at night their howls fill the valleys. Hearing that sound means you're not alone. Wolves don't always attack people, but they always test the boundaries. In Siberian folklore, it was believed that if wolves howl in the mountains at night, it means the spirits have come out to hunt alongside them. Snakes and scorpions are hidden dangers. You don't see them until it's too late. One bite in the mountains can be deadly. Help is miles away through rocks and ice. In the silence, their threat grows. You won't hear the warning until it's too late. On the southern slopes of the Caucasus, you can find vipers, while in Central Asia, scorpions hide under rocks. Their venom works slowly but surely. In these conditions, every bite can feel like a sentence. Eagles. They don't attack humans, but their cry and shadow overhead remind us this is their sky, not yours. In ancient times, people believed that the eagle was a messenger of the mountain gods. Its presence on a peak was seen as a sign. The mountain is watching you. Even today, when a giant bird soars over the abyss, a person feels like a grain of sand. Meeting the beast in the mountains is a moment of truth. There's no weapon, no protection. Just your will and your ability to resist fear. Many have perished not from claws and teeth, but from panic. Because the beast senses fear, just like water finds a weak spot in the rock. What's more dangerous, the predator itself or our own fear? Imagine this. You're walking along a path at the foot of a mountain. The wind carries the scent of damp earth, and you can hear the river roaring ahead. Suddenly, a shadow emerges from the bushes. It's huge and silent. Your eyes meet and time stands still. In moments like these, you realize that humans are not the masters of this land. Not all animals are deadly. Deer, mountain goats, and chamois are symbols of the mountains. Their leaps across the rocks teach us about balance. But their presence also reminds us that everything here follows its own rules. We tend to think of the world as ours, but in the mountains, the true masters are different. In the legends of the Andes people, the snow leopard is seen as the guardian of the peaks. The bear is the master of the forest, and the wolf is the protector of the night. Among the Slavs, it was said that if you encounter a deer in the mountains, it is a sign of change. The Mongols believed that a person who kills a snow leopard is doomed to lose everything. These myths were not born by chance. People understood that the mountain animals are stronger than us. The danger of mountain animals lies not just in their strength, but also in the fact that they are part of the elements. A bear shows up when the forest is full of berries. A snow leopard comes out in the snow. Wolves follow the cold. Their lives are as closely tied to the mountain as avalanches or storms. Meeting them is like meeting nature itself. In the dark, danger increases. Your eyes start to see things that aren't there. But when two lights suddenly shine from the darkness, it's not an illusion anymore. a leopard or a wolf is watching you. You don't know what it will do. You only know one thing: you don't belong here. Who is really the master of the mountains, humans or beasts? Animals are the guardians of the heights. They remind us that humans are weak. That is why encounters with them are both frightening and captivating. Behind their eyes lies the wild, untamed planet itself. Anyone who has ever faced a beast in the mountains will never forget that gaze. Mountains in winter are not just about the cold. It's a world where nature itself becomes the enemy. Icy storms and snow blizzards turn majestic peaks into deadly traps. Here, it doesn't matter how prepared you are. The storm takes everything: your sight, your breath, your hope. What's more terrifying, the ground disappearing beneath your feet, or the white darkness that hides everything? A snowstorm arrives without warning. In the morning, the sun shines, the trails are clear, and the peak is visible. But by noon, the horizon disappears. The clouds tear apart, and snow falls like a wall, muffling everything around. You're still walking, but you no longer know where to go. The map is useless, and the compass doesn't help. The white wall consumes everything. The danger is that the storm takes away your sense of direction. The white sky blends into the white ground. There is no horizon, no road. Everything around you turns into endless emptiness. Even experienced climbers admit that it is at this moment that despair sets in. The white fog breaks not just the body, but the mind as well. A person stops trusting their eyes, and without that, they lose their way. The wind turns snow into a weapon. Each snowflake hits your face like a needle. Tens of thousands of needles cut into your skin, slipping under your clothes and stealing your warmth. The temperature drops quickly, and your body loses strength faster than your mind can realize. Hypothermia sneaks up on you. First comes shivering, then fatigue, and soon drowsiness. Many sit down in the snow to rest, but in the mountains, that word means death. Imagine you are in the heart of a storm. Everything around you is white. You reach out your hand and can't see your fingers. Sounds fade away, leaving only the howl of the wind. You walk blindly, and each step could be your last. There is a crack here, a drop-off there, but in this white hell, everything is hidden. Even your own footprints vanish in seconds. What's scarier, getting lost in the mountains or losing yourself in the white darkness? In legends, snowstorms were called the breath of mountain spirits. People believed these were the guardians of the peaks, keeping out those who were unworthy. In Siberia, they spoke of snow demons that would steal travelers and take them to a frozen realm. In the Himalayas, it was thought that a storm was the anger of the goddess Chomolungma, and anyone caught in her breath would never return. A snowstorm kills with silence. At first, everything seems calm. But then you realize silence is death. A person stops hearing themselves. The heart beats slower. The mind drowns in white noise. The mountains take life so quietly that you don't even have time to be scared. History is filled with countless tragedies. In the Andes, entire expeditions vanished in snowstorms. On Everest, the white mist led climbers to wander just 100 meters from camp while they froze to death. In the Alps, storms claimed hundreds of lives overnight, burying villages under snow. The White Fury spared neither ordinary travelers nor seasoned mountaineers. A snowstorm is an enemy that can't be defeated. You can wait it out, you can find shelter, but you can't stop it. It comes when it wants and leaves when it's had enough. That's the chilling truth about it. But it is in this danger that people seek inspiration. Because coming out of the storm and staying alive means feeling the power of life more intensely than anywhere else. Climbers say that only after experiencing the storm do you truly understand what real fear and real joy are. Why does a person keep going back to where death swirls around them like a snowstorm? Ice storms and snow blizzards are the fury of winter peaks. The beauty of the mountains fades in these moments, but greatness is born. The greatness of a power that knows no bounds and needs no witnesses. The mountains do not invite us in winter, they warn us. Yet, this very warning becomes a challenge. Mountains in winter are a test. A test where the score is given not by a person, but by nature itself. Will you stand firm in the white hell, or will you fade away in it? The answer comes only when the storm passes, and you see the dawn. Mountains and waterfalls don't tolerate weakness. They seem to be made for testing a person. Every step up, every meter closer to the edge is a challenge. A challenge for the body, the mind, and the will. And at some point, you reach what is called the final frontier. What's scarier, giving into fear or stepping into the unknown where there is no turning back? The final frontier is not a peak. It's a boundary within each person. It's where muscles refuse to obey, breathing turns into gasps, and the mind whispers, "Enough." This is where everything is decided. Some break down. Others push on no matter what. In the mountains, death is always close. One step to the side and there's a crack. 1 second of weakness and an avalanche. 1 moment of fear and a chasm. And yet, people keep coming back. Why? because it's at the edge that a person truly feels alive. Imagine this: the summit is just within reach. You're running low on energy. The wind is pushing you back, snow is hitting your face, and your heart is pounding so hard it feels like it might burst. And then, suddenly a spark ignites inside you. You keep going because you know this moment will change you forever. Climbers refer to this moment as the death zone. It's the heights above 8,000 meters, where the air is too thin for life. Here, a person cannot stay for long. Every minute is stolen time. But it is here that legends are born. Those who rise above the clouds know that the final frontier is the place where a person touches eternity. What's more important, to survive or to leave a mark at the top? Waterfalls also become a boundary. Standing at their edge, looking down at the roaring water, means facing the abyss. Taking a step forward is impossible. Taking a step back feels like betraying oneself. A person stands at this threshold, and in that moment decides who they truly are. At Niagara, people would jump into barrels to brave the rapids. Some survived and became legends, while others vanished forever. In South America, at the Iguazu Falls, local tribes believed that the waterfall was a gateway to another world. Anyone who stares at the falling water for too long hears the call of the abyss. The final frontier is a challenge where beauty becomes a weapon. The snowy peaks dazzle and the waterfalls mesmerize. But it is in this moment that the choice comes: to step back or to stay. In the legends of great climbers and explorers, the frontier has always been the place where destinies are born. Some have perished, leaving their names in the chronicles. Others reached the end and returned changed. But they all knew that without this frontier, life would be empty. The danger of the final frontier is that it cannot be predicted. For one person, it's a step to the top. For another, it's a glance down from a cliff. For a third, it's the moment they realize they can't go any further, but their heart urges them to keep going. Where is your limit? Where your strength runs out, or where your fear begins? Mountains and waterfalls offer not just beauty, but a challenge. And those who face it gain more than just a victory. They encounter their true selves. At the edge, a person sees their real self, without masks, without illusions. Stories are full of examples. On Everest, climbers, barely able to stand, took steps through storms and cold, leaving behind the bodies of those who didn't make it. At waterfalls, the brave jumped into the abyss, knowing their chances of survival were slim. Yet, it was these actions that became symbols. In different cultures, thresholds were seen as sacred. For the Tibetans, the peak was a connection point between the world of humans and the world of gods. For the Native Americans, the chasm at the waterfall was the entrance to the spirit realm. The Slavs believed that if a person looked into the abyss and survived, they would return changed, as if reborn. The final frontier is the place where a person either disappears or is reborn. That's why we are drawn to the edge, where the world drops into the abyss, where water falls into the void, and where peaks tear through the sky. The dangerous beauty of our planet is its power. And our story is just an attempt to touch that power, knowing that it is always stronger than us. Glaciers are not just blocks of ice. They are the planet's archive, a frozen history that holds the breath of thousands of years. They stand as silent guardians, watching the world with cold indifference. Their beauty is striking, but beneath that beauty lies a threat more powerful than any avalanche. What is more terrifying, fire that burns instantly, or ice that kills slowly and silently? The glacier is moving. Slowly, almost unnoticed. Just a few centimeters a day, sometimes meters a year. But this movement breaks rocks, crushes villages, and transforms entire valleys. We tend to think of ice as still. But in reality, the glacier is alive. It breathes, contracts, and slides down, taking everything with it. The danger lies in its silence. There is no rumble, no crack. It gives no warning. But one day, the ground starts to shake, and you realize the ice giant has awakened. Tons of ice come crashing down, turning the valley into a cold field of death. This is how legends of ice dragons were born, sleeping for centuries, only to awaken and sweep everything away. Glaciers hide their traps. Beneath the white surface, there are cracks that go down for tens of meters. From above, they look like a smooth layer, but take a step, and the ground disappears. Those who have fallen into such crevices rarely come back. Rescuers know that if you don't act in the first few minutes, the ice will take a person forever. Imagine this, you are walking on a glacier. All around you, a blue light shines, and the ice walls look as clear as crystal. But beneath your feet is emptiness. One wrong step, and you could become part of this eternal archive. The ice will swallow you just as easily as it swallowed the remains of animals, and even entire forests, thousands of years ago. In legends, glaciers were called the gates of time. People believed that you could see the past in them. And there is truth in this. Inside, they hold the dust of ancient volcanoes, the bones of animals, and the breath of ages. Scientists extract air particles from ice cores that are hundreds of thousands of years old. But along with history, glaciers also hold death. Can you trust a guardian who is both a protector and a killer? The dangerous beauty of glaciers lies in their dual nature. They provide water to rivers and sustain life below, but at any moment they can turn into a weapon. One collapse and a valley disappears. One shift and a mass of ice sweeps away bridges, roads, and people. In the Himalayas, these disasters are called glacial bursts. In just a few minutes, they have taken entire villages, erasing them from the face of the earth. In Greenland, glaciers are moving faster than ever before. Their rumble sounds like artillery. Huge chunks break off and crash into the ocean, creating waves that can wipe out everything along the coast. In Kamchatka, glaciers have caused sudden floods that have engulfed entire villages. A glacier is an enemy that's always close by. It can wait for centuries, but when the time comes, it strikes. Its power lies not in speed, but in inevitability. People can build cities, dams, and tunnels, but the glacier will find a way. It moves forward and nothing can stop it. What's scarier? A storm that lasts for hours, or ice that takes centuries to form, only to destroy everything in an instant? In the myths of the northern peoples, glaciers were seen as the homes of spirits. In Altai, people believed that those who perished in the snow remain frozen in the ice forever, guarding the mountains. In Scandinavia, it was thought that ice giants lived inside the glaciers, sending storms their way. For the Andean Indians, glaciers were sacred. They were seen as the bodies of gods, frozen but not dead. Meeting a glacier is like meeting eternity. But this eternity is deceptive. Even the oldest glaciers are melting. Even the mightiest guardians are disappearing. And we realize that nothing lasts forever, not even ice. Yet, as long as they exist, they remind us of our own fragility. Glaciers are a boundary between the past and the future, between life and death, between what seems eternal and what can vanish in an instant. The earth holds fire within, and when it erupts, the whole world changes. Volcanoes are the wounds of our planet, and their lava is the blood that flows through its veins. This sight is both mesmerizing and terrifying. Because in the face of lava, a person realizes that all their strength is nothing. What can flesh do against a river that flows from the very heart of the earth? Lava moves slowly. It seems like you have time. It flows in thick streams, melting the ground beneath it. But that's where its danger lies. A person believes they can escape. But lava never stops. It moves day and night until it consumes everything. There's no rush, no anger, just certainty. Every meter of it means death. Houses turn to ash, forests become charcoal, rivers turn into clouds of steam. Rocks crack and melt, and the air fills with the smell of sulfur. All of this is accompanied by a low rumble, as if the planet itself is groaning in pain. But But what's even scarier is when lava meets water. That's when explosions happen, tearing the ground apart. Rocks, ash, and debris fly for miles. What was once a shoreline yesterday becomes a new landscape today. The planet is reshaping itself right before our eyes. Imagine this, night. In the distance, a mountain lights up in red. In the darkness, a river of fire slowly creeps forward. It doesn't rush, it presses on. You stand there, realizing that it cannot be stopped. It will go wherever it wants. And nothing, neither dams nor roads nor prayers, will change its course. In ancient myths, volcanoes were called the breath of the gods. People made sacrifices to appease them. This wasn't just superstition. Anyone who saw villages vanish under a layer of lava knew this was real anger that couldn't be fought against. The Romans had Vulcan, the god of fire, and the master of lightning. In Polynesia, there was the goddess Pele, whose rivers of lava burned entire islands. The dangerous beauty of lava is that it captivates you. You watch the glowing flow and can't look away. But that light is the light of destruction. It serves as a reminder that everything humans have built can vanish in an instant. History holds tragedies. In Pompeii, people believed that Vesuvius was calm. But one day, it erupted, covering the city in ash. In Indonesia, the eruption of Krakatoa triggered a tsunami that took tens of thousands of lives. In Iceland, the eruption of Eyjafjallajökull grounded flights across an entire continent. Lava and ash affect not just villages, but entire civilizations. Lava is an enemy that comes slowly but stays for a long time. Where its flow has passed, the ground is dead. It takes years for moss to return to the black slopes. It takes decades for forests to come back. But here lies the mystery. Fire destroys, yet it also gives birth to new life. Is it the death of the planet or its breath? Scientists call lava the building material of the Earth. It creates new islands, new mountains, and new shores. Hawaii was formed from lava flows. Iceland sits on lava. Volcanoes both destroy and create at the same time. Here, beauty and destruction are inseparable. Imagine the ground cracking open. A red light bursts from the fissure, and the air fills with heat. The flow rushes down, burning everything in its path. People run, but they realize the lava isn't chasing them. It's just moving forward. It's indifferent. And that indifference is more terrifying than any anger. Legends from different cultures teach us one thing: fire does not belong to humans. We can use it in a campfire or in a forge, but a volcano is on a whole different level. It serves as a reminder that our planet is alive. And yet people keep going to volcanoes again and again to witness the birth of new land, to feel the breath of the planet, to stand next to a force that is stronger than anything alive. Fire rivers are a reminder. We live on the surface of a world that breathes fire. And every time a volcano awakens, it reminds us that the Earth is not our home. We are just its guests. Mountains know how to hide their secrets. Sometimes they reveal not just peaks and chasms, but entire labyrinths. Narrow gorges, rocky passages, cities carved right into the stone. It all looks like a backdrop for an ancient epic. But inside lies a danger that rivals avalanches or storms. What is more frightening, a storm in the open sky or the silence that traps you within stone walls? The canyon always deceives you. You step inside, and it feels like just a corridor leading forward. But the walls start to close in. The light dims and the air grows colder. Your footsteps sound louder than they should. And at some point you realize there's no way back. Even if you want to leave, the stone won't let you go. Many of these places became homes for civilizations. For thousands of years, people carved houses into rocks and built temples right in the stone. Petra in Jordan, Cappadocia in Turkey, fortresses in the Caucasus Mountains, monasteries in Ethiopia. But these cities were not just wonders, they were also traps. Narrow passages turned them into snares, both for enemies and for the residents themselves. One siege could turn into a disaster. It only took collapsing part of a cliff. The danger of canyons lies in their silence. You can't hear a storm approaching here. The stars are hidden from view. Any earthquake can turn these corridors into graves. Rocks tumble down from above, leaving a person trapped in a stone maze. Even small landslides in narrow canyons can lead to tragedies for entire caravans. Imagine this: you are walking through a narrow canyon. The walls rise up for dozens of meters, and the sky is just a thin strip above your head. The sun disappears, and it feels like the stone is closing in around you. Every sound, a step, a rock falling from the wall, turns into a heartbeat. Even your own breathing sounds too loud. What's scarier? Trudging through rough terrain in a storm, or walking down a road that turns into a trap? In legends, it was said that stone labyrinths are places where spirits dwell. People believe that the walls listen to everyone who passes by. And if the spirits don't like your step, the stones will collapse. There was truth in this superstition. The mountains really do decide who gets to come out. In the Caucasus, there was a belief that guardians lived in the valleys, checking travelers. If a person walks with a pure heart, they will pass through. If they carry evil, the stones will close in. In Central Asia, people believed that deep canyons were home to jinns who protected water and pathways. In the Middle East, canyons were called the ears of the earth because they supposedly hear every word. But it's this danger that draws us in. The rocky cities and canyons are not just about fear, they are also about beauty. Architecture shaped by hands and time. Stone corridors carved by the river and the wind. Every turn hides a new story. Every bend presents a new challenge. History tells us about real tragedies. In the Middle Ages, caravans disappeared in the mountains not because of bandits, but because of landslides. In the 20th century, earthquakes in the Andes claimed the lives of thousands of people caught in narrow valleys. Even today, tourists get lost in canyons where GPS cannot get a signal, and the walls hide the sky. Stone labyrinths are the memory of the mountains. They hold the traces of ancient civilizations and the breath of nature itself. But they always remind us, here, the true master is not man, but stone. Why do we go to places where walls are ready to close in on us? Maybe it's because there's a sense of eternity in these places. A person walks through the canyon and realizes that everything here was not created by them. The stone has lived long before they were born and will continue to live after. This thought can be frightening, but it's exactly what makes the steps through the stone labyrinths so special. Canyons and gorges are gateways. Sometimes they lead to new lands. Other times they lead to doom. But everyone who steps into the stone corridor knows they will come out changed. A person has always tried to connect what nature has divided. And where rivers, chasms, and canyons seemed impossible to cross, they built bridges. But in the mountains, a bridge is never just a way to get across. It is always a test. What is more frightening, the chasm itself or the step that separates you from it, resting on a thin board? The bridge over the abyss is a challenge to fate. You stand at its start and see it vanish into the clouds. Beneath your feet are just planks or glass. Below, there are hundreds of meters of emptiness, the sound of rivers, and the roar of waterfalls. Every movement sends a shiver through your knees, and you realize there's no way back. Some bridges were built centuries ago. Rope crossings in the Himalayas made from vines. Tribes walked across them, carrying goods and prayers. These structures relied solely on ropes and faith. Today, tourists walk the same paths, and the fear in their eyes is the same as that of their ancestors. In the Andes, there are still Inca bridges made of woven grass ropes. Every year they are manually repaired, and only then are they considered safe. But who said safety exists when a river roars beneath you dozens of meters deep? Modern times have brought new wonders. glass bridges in China, where every crack beneath your feet is an illusion that makes your heart skip a beat. Engineers call it an attraction, but really it's pure ancient fear, stepping into thin air. You know the glass will hold, but your mind whispers, "You're falling." The danger of bridges lies in their fragility. The wind sways the ropes, and the boards creak underfoot. Sometimes, just one storm is enough to bring the structure down. Even stone bridges in the mountains crumble over time, and anyone walking on them becomes part of the risk. In the Alps, old stone crossings have collapsed right beneath caravans. In Nepal, mudflows have swept away bridges, taking everyone on them with the water. Imagine you are in the middle of a bridge. On your left, there are clouds. On your right, a deep abyss. Beneath your feet, the boards are cracked. The wind tears at your clothes. Your hands grip the rope, and every second feels like an eternity. Below, a waterfall roars, drowning out even your own breath. This is not just a path, it's a battle with yourself. What does the bridge test? The strength of its structure or the strength of your will? In legends, such bridges were seen as tests of the soul. In Scandinavia, there was Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that gods and heroes crossed to reach Asgard. In Islam, there is the Sirat bridge, thinner than a hair and sharper than a sword, which every soul must cross. In the Caucasus, they told stories of a bridge over the abyss that only the righteous could cross. Others would fall down, becoming victims of the void. Today we call it a test of nerves. But the essence remains the same. A bridge over a chasm always puts a person to the test. Fear and willpower come face to face. One wrong step, and there's no chance to make it right. Stories know tragedies. In China, wooden bridges collapsed, taking hundreds of people with them. In the Himalayas, rope bridges gave way under the weight of caravans. Even modern structures have broken under the force of hurricanes. People build, but nature is always stronger. And yet, we keep walking these roads. Why? Because it's on the bridge that a person understands the value of life. Every heart skips a beat, and each step feels like a victory. We are not just looking for a way forward, we are also seeking the feeling that we have overcome not just the abyss, but ourselves. Bridges over the abyss are a symbol of struggle. A struggle between fear and will. People built them to conquer nature, but every time they walk across, they realize that nature cannot be defeated. You can only outsmart it for a moment and step into a place where the void stares right back at you. What's stronger, the abyss beneath you or the choice to keep going despite it? A waterfall always seems like a wonder. Streams of water cascade down, sparkling in the sunlight, creating rainbows. But some waterfalls are not just beautiful, they are overwhelming. giants whose power is so immense that the ground trembles from their fall. This is not just a sight, it's a confrontation with a force that is hard to fully grasp. What is stronger, beauty or fear, when the water itself turns into a wall? A waterfall is a wall. A wall of water that never stops. Second by second, day by day, for thousands of years, it tumbles down. And every moment carries the energy of thousands of thunderclaps. Standing next to such a giant means hearing the voice of the planet in all its fury. Angel Falls in Venezuela. Its streams drop almost a kilometer, creating clouds of mist that envelop everything around. Victoria Falls in Africa, the thundering smoke heard from miles away. Iguazu Falls in South America, hundreds of streams weaving into one roaring symphony. Niagara Falls in North America, a flow compared to the breath of a giant. Each of these waterfalls is a challenge, even for those who just stand nearby. The danger lies in their allure. You watch the falling water and feel drawn to get closer. But right where it seems safe, there are whirlpools, sinkholes, and deadly currents. One step forward, and a person can vanish into the white foam. Imagine this, you're standing at the edge. The ground shakes beneath your feet. The roar of the waterfall is so loud that it drowns out your thoughts. A cloud of spray hits your face, and you realize this is not just water. This is a force of nature that can wipe everything away. Can we call something a miracle if it kills, even when it seems beautiful? In legends, waterfalls were called gateways. In Africa, they were seen as the entrance to the spirit world. In South America, they were known as the ladder of the gods. In Europe, they were thought to be a place where you could hear the voices of the dead. In Asia, people believed that anyone who jumped into the flow could cleanse their soul. But the truth was harsh. The current took lives, and so waterfalls became a symbol of a boundary that should not be crossed. Facts only confirm the myths. The roar of Victoria Falls reaches 120 decibels. That's louder than a jet plane. At Iguazu, a cloud of water spray rises for dozens of meters, blocking out the sun. At Angel Falls, droplets of mist create their own climate, leaving anyone nearby soaked in an instant. The danger of waterfalls isn't just in their power. They create their own traps. Water forms underwater pockets where air disappears. A person caught in one of these has no chance. Even experienced swimmers have drowned just a meter from the shore. But it's this very threat that makes them a magnet. People are drawn to them again and again. To feel the thrill of the abyss. To sense the planet's breath. To hear the noise that drowns out all thoughts. History holds tragedies. Niagara has claimed the lives of those who tried to swim across or descend in barrels. At Iguazu, people vanished in the currents while trying to get closer. In Africa, legends tell of tribes that sacrificed warriors to Victoria Falls to appease the spirits. Why does a person go back to a place where death seems unavoidable? Because a waterfall is not just a threat. It is a symbol of eternity. It falls every second, and each drop is new, but the flow remains the same. In this paradox, a person feels the breath of time. Giant waterfalls are the breath of the planet. A breath that cannot be stopped. And anyone who has ever heard their roar will never forget that sound. Because in it lies a reminder, the earth is living its own life, and we are just witnesses to its power. Some mountains rise, not just above the ground, they rise above human imagination. Their silhouettes have become symbols, their names woven into legends, and the stories about them outlive entire civilizations. These peaks are more than just stone and snow. They have become myths. What is more frightening, to dare to touch a sacred summit or to give up on a dream? Olympus in Greece. According to beliefs, this is where the gods lived, shaping the fates of people. Climbing up there was seen as an act of daring, almost madness. Even today, when you look at this mountain, you feel it holds something greater than just rocky slopes. Tourists walk the trails, and in the silence, they imagine the voices of ancient gods. Kailash in Tibet, a peak that pilgrims have been journeying to for centuries. No one has dared to conquer it, not because it is inaccessible, but because it is considered sacred. It is said that anyone who disturbs its peace will bring a curse upon themselves. Every year, pilgrims perform a kora, a circumambulation around the mountain, believing that it cleanses the soul. Mount Fuji in Japan. A symbol of the country, cherished and celebrated in art. It appears peaceful and beautiful, but beneath that beauty lies volcanic fury. Legends say that Fuji is a gateway connecting the earthly and heavenly realms. Every Japanese person dreams at least once of climbing to its summit. Ararat in Armenia. A mountain where, according to legend, Noah's Ark came to rest. For the people, it is a symbol of memory and hope. Standing at its base, people believe they are looking into the eyes of human history itself. Everest in the Himalayas, the highest point on Earth. For some, it's a dream. For others, it's a grave. Here, life and death walk side by side. Local legends say that the summit is guarded by spirits who decide who is worthy and who will remain forever in the ice. Kilimanjaro in Africa. A solitary peak rising above the plains. It has been called the home of the gods and the roof of the continent. For tribes, it was a place of power, And for writers and travelers, it became a symbol of Africa's mystery. Sinai in the Middle East. A place where, according to tradition, Moses received the tablets. For millions of people, this mountain has become a connection to the divine. Mont Blanc in Europe. The White Mountain, which has inspired awe and fear for centuries. Its icy peaks were seen as the realm of spirits, and only the brave dared to climb there. But legends aren't just about famous mountains. In the Caucasus, people spoke of peaks where giants sleep, and if you disturb them, the earth will shake. In the Andes, it was believed that every mountain has a soul, and you can only win it over with offerings. In Africa, they believed that rain spirits live on the summits, and you shouldn't approach them without gifts. The danger of such peaks lies in their allure. People are drawn to them not just for their beauty. They are tempted by the myth. They want to touch the mystery, to feel the breath of ancient stories. But it is here that mountains often claim lives. Because belief can blind a person to danger. What's stronger, the fear of a curse or the desire to see the legend with your own eyes? Imagine this. You're standing at the base of a mountain. The wind carries legends, tales of gods, curses, and wonders. And all of this comes to life right before your eyes. It feels like the mountain itself is watching and deciding whether to let you pass or not. Legendary mountains are living books. Their pages are written in stone, snow, and the blood of those who tried to understand them. They remind us that while people can tell stories, the greatest tales are written by the earth itself.